Good evening. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow. Will you please rise with me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. This is a time when we remember those members of our community who have passed since our last meeting. Since our last meeting, we lost Segundo Lalve at the young age of 46. George Pava passed away as a resident of Florida, but the beloved father of our employee, Joe Pava, at the age of 82. My thoughts are with Joe. And sadly, another of our employees, Jerry Navin, lost both of his parents. His mother, Judith Passariello, at the age of 72, passed away, and Alfonso Passariello, known as Lubby to his family and friends, passed away just 4 days later at the age of 91. So sad to see for him and the rest of the family lose them both so quickly. Our thoughts are with their families and their friends. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, we're going to begin tonight with a continuation of two public hearings. I'll ask the clerk to read the notice of public hearing, please. Ms. McCarthy-Tompkins.
Please take notice that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow has called for the continuation of a public hearing on Tuesday, December 10th, 2019 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter at Village Hall, 28 Beekman Avenue in Sleepy Hollow, New York, to hear and consider comments from members of the public on the proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 362 of the Code of the Village of Sleepy Hollow entitled Streets and Sidewalks relative to sidewalk displays and sidewalk cafes. All persons are entitled to attend and be heard at said hearing. Village Hall is accessible to all disabled persons by order of the Board of Trustees, November 12, 2019.
And the other one? Yeah, I'm just going to do them both at the same time.
Please take notice the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow has called for a public hearing on Tuesday, December 10th, 2019 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter in Village Hall, 28 Beekman Avenue in Sleepy Hollow, New York, to hear and consider comments from members of the public on the proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 450 of the Code of the Village of Sleepy Hollow entitled Zoning to establish a strategic property redevelopment floating zone, SPR, pertaining to existing underutilized municipal properties in Sleepy Hollow. All members are entitled to attend and be heard at said hearing. Village Hall is accessible to all persons with disabilities. By order of the Board of Trustees, November 12, 2019.
Thank you. If anyone wishes to address the board on the matter of either public hearing, you may do so now, and if anyone on the board has any comments, I would welcome those as well. Does anyone wish to address the board? Yes, sir.
Hi, Mike Savitsky, 11 River Street. I'm in opposition to any change or amendment to Code 362. I want to make it perfectly clear. I've listened to the board's comments. I understand what you're saying. You never intended to allow outdoor seating 366 days. It was a start. Ultimately, you're probably looking to add in March and/or October. I'd like you to listen to me. I believe it's unjust, it's morally not right and unfair to the residents of a mixed-use building to change a village code that has ramifications to the quality of life to those residents of the mixed-use building. None of you live in a mixed-use building, but if you had a party in your neighbor's backyard, if your neighbors had parties weekly in the backyard, at some point, you're going to say enough is enough. And if you purchased your home knowing that they could only have parties from the month of April to the month of September, and you purchased with your eyes wide open, then that's what you're willing to live with. No more and no less. So again, I've heard what you've had to say. Please understand my point. I thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to address the board on the matter of the public hearings? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Convisor. I live in Maple Street. I don't have these exactly ordered, but you'll get the idea. So on the cafe public hearing, I think being more lenient on the cafe's timing is good overall. I mean, I don't think it's going to end up being year-round for most people. It's, you know, if it's a nice day, you put out the chairs. If it's a bad day, you're not going to put the chairs out, whatever. Okay, that's aside. On the zoning hearing, the general concept of cutting parking requirements and improving, increasing density, I think is a good idea. And I would encourage the board to look at doing so on a broader scale around more zoning districts in the village, so we can share those benefits more widely. And the floating zone has a very interesting feature in that it allows a lot of flexibility and discretion, and that's helpful, but then that also creates a lot of complexity for people applying and trying to build in our village. They don't know exactly what they're going to come away with. It's clearer for people to have a set of rules that apply to everybody up front that are fair and equitable for everybody. So, it has less requirements for people to figure things out. So then you got to go through drafts and back and forth and stuff. Let's have, this is the rules, adhere to the rules, you get your building. And I think that's, it'll make things easier for people building, it'll make things easier for the village to administer, and it eliminates the possibility for the appearance of corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the board on the matter of the public hearings? Okay.
My apologies. There was one other point I wanted to make. Thank you. I noticed in the actual verbiage that it says that there's a height and density limit bonus of 20%. Considering we have like 50% of the residents in our village kind of have a hard time paying their housing costs, and 37% are like extremely housing burden costs wise, I don't know if 20% is really going to get us there. And then, I don't know if this was a typographical error in the text. It said that the maximum affordable housing limit was 10%. Someone wants to provide 20% affordable housing, like, it should be great. I don't know. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board on the matter of either public hearing? Anybody on the board have any comments?
Do we have it posted on what affordable zoning is on the website?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, my suggestion would be, I would be open to a motion to close the public hearing on extending the hours for sidewalk cafes. I think we should keep the public hearing open on the floating zone at least for another week, but also to make sure that we comply with the requirements of getting it to the planning board. I'm not sure if the public hearing has to actually be open when they respond to us, but at any rate, we should leave it open.
Yes.
Unless somebody has some other thoughts on the cafe thing, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Seconded.
I would encourage a motion, so, sorry. Thank you, ma'am. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Public hearing is closed. Can I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing on floating zones until December 17th at or around 7 PM.
So moved.
And there's a second from,
Second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? All right, and both public hearings are, one is adjourned and one is closed. Thank you for your comments on those this week and last week. Means we will continue to accept written comments on the floating zones. Please send them to any of us at our village email addresses or to Ms. McCarthy Tompkins, the village clerk here at 28 Beekman. We'll move on. We have a warrant. Before that, I just want to note that I'm going to ask for an executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss a personnel matter. But we have a warrant, a somewhat staggering one, for $1,934,214.54.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's a rather large pension payment in there, and, or are those both pension payments?
It's our annual payment for both the police and fire retirement and the regular retirement system. It's in the amount of $1,519,000. So that is our annual payment, and this is the one time a year where you will see that amount be very large on our warrant.
Okay. Any questions on the warrant?
Motion to adopt the warrant?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? The warrant is approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we've got the minutes of the 15th of October, November 12th, and November 26th. We'll take them one at a time, if we could. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes of the 15th?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, any amendments or anything to the minutes of the 15th? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Abstain?
Please note the abstention. Okay, the minutes of November 12th, I should ask first, any amendments, edits? Anybody have anything? If not, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved. Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed or abstentions?
Abstain?
On
Huh?
November 12th? probably?
Yeah,
Abstain.
you don't have to, actually. You can.
I know, but I would prefer.
Okay, please note both abstentions for the record. And the minutes of November 26th, any changes, edits? If not, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of November 26, 2019?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed or abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, please note that abstention for the record. And the minutes are approved. Just want to remind folks that next week is a regular board meeting, and because it's the following Tuesdays of this month fall on, one way I guess is era of Christmas. The other is era of New Year's Day, or Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve to some of you, to many of you. And we will not be having meetings on those days. And so next week will be our last meeting until the new year. And that's, those are my announcements. So we'll move on to the administrator's report. Mr. There is, well, there's a Christmas pageant, musical pageant.
Yeah, there is on the 23rd. I know our community liaison will be here on Tuesday night next week to announce that. But it's
Okay.
December 23rd at St. Teresa's Church.
Great, all right. Mr. Giaccio.
All right, I received a letter, an email actually a few days ago, and I wanted to read it to you because it's a little bit of good news. Your Conservancy Trail Grant application has been recommended for full funding and will be formally voted on by our full board at our joint board meeting of Hudson River Valley Greenway on Wednesday, December 11th, 2019 at Hyde Park, and that's tomorrow. I'm going to be going to that meeting. That is the grant we applied for the design of the Riverwalk along Riverside. That would extend to Sleepy Hollow Manor and back towards the train station. So it looks like, we don't want to jump the gun, but it looks like, hope they're not inviting me up there and we're not getting the money.
That would be mean.
Speaking of other grants, the CFA grants are due back next week. We expect to hear from those next week. Continue to work with the fire department and the ambulance corps regarding the LoSAP program. Yesterday, we met with Ed John Hudson to discuss the Hudson Plaza, and that's going to go out to bid, we hope, mid-January, to be completed in the spring. The water line project on the east parcel that goes under the tracks is out to bid, and the bids are expected back January 9th. We're going to be doing a defensive driving class for all village employees on Thursday. That's part of our safety program that the village works hard at keeping going each month.
What
And
time is that, Anthony?
That's all. What time?
It's from 9 to 2:30, 9 a.m. to 2:30.
Thank you.
And finally, thank you to Claire Davis. She applied for this Climate Smart bronze certification. We're waiting to hear back. It takes a couple weeks for them to review our application. We do expect to get the bronze certification. We have somewhere, we need 120 points. We have over 130. So if something was kind of incorrect, we didn't get full points for, we still might get it. So we're keeping our fingers crossed with that. I do want to say Claire Davis did an incredible job getting that all together. She took that on herself, so wanted to thank her for that. And that's my report.
Thank you. One other upcoming or ongoing construction project, on the east parcel, as you know, the next part 1B, I guess, is getting the wick drains in. So we're having more clean fill delivered, not as we speak, and not at night, but every day that they can bring it in. And we're about to award the contract to place the wick drains and the other pieces of that that are necessary to put those in place. So it's another step forward. Again, it's still infrastructure. It's not as exciting as seeing a building go up, a road being built, but it is more progress.
What's the expected start time?
Huh?
What's the expected start time of the
For,
project?
About a month from now.
Okay,
By the time the final pieces are put together,
okay. And
for
then,
the fill going in, at least another 6 months.
okay, because it has to settle?
Hmm?
Because it has to settle?
The wick drains will help it settle.
Okay,
The idea is that they pull the groundwater out, and then and then the pressure just of the weight of the soil pushes it down and settles.
Okay.
And it goes much quicker if you can draw the water out.
thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to public comments. Would anybody like to address the board? If you would like to, please use the microphone in the middle of the room, and please be reminded that you're limited to 3 minutes. Would anybody, yes, ma'am?
Hello, I'm Judy Nispel. I live on River Street. I'd like to remind you about the bulkhead with the giant holes in it. Now that the weeds have died, you can see that the holes have expanded since the springtime. I'm not even counting where plates are covering the holes. It looks like some of those holes are 30 feet long, straight down to the river. And even though it's winter time now and we don't have a director of the DPW, please don't forget about this project. Please try to keep it a priority. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else like to address the board? Okay, we'll move on to resolutions, and just a reminder that we do have a second public comment period later on in our meeting. Somebody take the first one?
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow to suspend meter parking. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby suspend requirements for the meter parking payments cash for the holiday season starting December 11th, 2019 and ending January 2nd, 2020. Be it further resolved, the Chief of Police is directed to place seasonal bags on the meters during this time. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? The resolution's approved. We have another one,
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow hiring part-time recreation staff. Whereas the Superintendent of Recreation, Matt Arone, properly advertised for this part-time position, and in order to keep the appropriate ratio of staff per after-school participant, a vacancy must be replaced. And whereas Mr. Arone has recommended that Jane Berman of Tarrytown, New York be appointed to this position after several satisfying references, qualifications, and experience. Now be it resolved that the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby approve Mr. Arone's recommendation of Jane Berman to be hired effective December 16th, 2019 at the hourly rate of $17.67, be under the direct supervision of Mr. Arone. And be it further resolved that Deali Molina's hourly rate be adjusted to $17.67 to commensurate with her experience and qualifications. So moved.
Seconded.
moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? The resolution is approved. Welcome aboard, Deali.
No, Jane.
Hmm?
Jane.
And Jane.
Jane.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jane. Deali has been here and continues to be very welcome. My apologies. All right, so the bags will go on tomorrow, right? Great.
That's great.
Okay, any old business? Any new business? And while you're thinking about it, Ms. McCarthy-Tompkins, any communications?
No, I just wanted to tell the board that the village calendar for 2020 is now available on our village's website. The hard copy will be in the mail in approximately 2 weeks. And thanks everyone who sent in pictures. That's
Great.
all.
I just have one item on old business, new business, and that is that we had a good meeting with the New York State Department of Transportation. I want to thank our State Senator Pete Harcum for arranging that and for being at the meeting. It's been a long discussion with DOT to try to get some changes made on Route 9 in Sleepy Hollow. I came away from that meeting pretty encouraged about their willingness to look at the things that we think need to be done, including one of the most urgent needs, and that is the intersection at Pearson and Route 9 and Gordon and out in front of the Old Dutch Church. And the DOT people did two things. One, they agreed that we would be allowed to place a temporary, I guess obstruction, but a temporary,
Bump out?
Yeah,
like a bump out, but not a permanent one, but one that people could see and that would function as one, so that the crossing wouldn't be as wide as it is right now. There's a whole area that's kind of like a driveway, maybe part of the road, but to bring that closer together around from the north side of the bridge, adjacent to the church and the cemetery. So the efforts to do that are underway with Mr. Giacchio. They also promised, and I actually believe them, to have a walk light for pedestrians in place by the spring. And that walk light would mean a red light for everybody else, and a green only for pedestrians to be able to go across. So that's encouraging. And we continue to discuss other issues along Route 9 with DOT, and I'm looking forward to being able to make further improvements in that area. But I think it's important to know that they listened. I think it helped to have a state senator sitting at the table with us. It certainly helped because we wouldn't have, it's been so difficult to get meetings with them, but they were very willing to work with us, and that's a very welcome change and good news.
Excuse me,
So-
Anthony, can you just follow up with them, just to make sure, to see if there's a walk light going across Pearson as well, not just Route 9 at that intersection?
Yes, I'll check.
Thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any other new business items or old business, any public comments? Did anybody wish to address the board? Yes, sir?
Hello again, Daniel Commissar, Maple Street. Thank you very much for meeting with the DOT about Route 9. As we all know, it's really super important to get that taken care of. And just kind of in general, I just want to express my sincere appreciation and regard for each of you and all the tremendous work you do for our village. There seems to be sometimes, animosity, but basically just difference in vision of what we want to see happen in the village. That's what it's about. And regarding the Route 9 study and the east parcel, kind of have similar trajectories in that we had a big public outreach process, got a lot of input, came up with conceptual designs, and then as things get closer to building, you come up with changes in those plans because various reasons. And one of those made it into the comprehensive plan and one of them didn't. So it's just trying to say that things are changing and in flux is not necessarily reason to have restricted that or pulled it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Okay, as I said earlier, I would like to have a short executive session to discuss a personnel matter. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? All right, this is an executive session of the Board of Trustees. I expect that when we come back, we will do nothing more than end our meeting, end the executive session of the meeting. So thank you all and good night.